everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Human to Heaven. I'm your hostess, Jessica Iris. Thank you for joining me today. Um, we are going to talk about transitioning and body breakdown today. So, I've been getting a lot of responses and questions about what happens. And so, there is no rhyme and reason to the order of these videos other than me answering questions and maybe kind of helping you navigate through and things to look for. So today we're going to do transitioning and body breakdown. So uh, first of all, I know that when your client or loved one gets a diagnosis, the first question is how long? How long do we have? And like I mentioned in my previous videos, it's like the birth pains start when a woman's gonna have a baby, and it's like, oh, we're almost there. Let's go. How long is it gonna be? Uh, you've mentally got to prepare yourself for the things you're gonna go through and see, and by the end of this, you'll be an expert on death and dying. So, first thing I want to talk about is transitioning and a couple of things. When they get the diagnosis, you go home with hospice. Like I said, you have your hospice team. One thing I want to make sure that you have in place is a good relationship with your hospice team. That's the main person is going to be the nurse, and the secondary would be the social worker. Those two people are the ones that's really going to get stuff done for you. So make sure you have a good relationship with the nurse and the social worker, because if you need anything, they're your go-tos. Make sure that you know you're comfortable with the nurse knowing that if they are a 24-hour service, that it might be 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. that you're going to be making phone calls because you don't know what's going on. And when it gets closer, when drastic changes happen, you want to have a great relationship with them and say, hey, I called last night, I called tonight, how soon are you going to be here? um, those are the things that are important when you start into your relationship with uh, your hospice team. Generally, the doctor maybe will come once, and I know that it's strange that it's not once they get put on hospice, it's not their regular doctor. They get a brand new doctor that doesn't know anything about them, probably has never seen them before unless they saw them in the hospital before they came home. But trust that they know what they're doing. Hospice doctors are a lot different than just a regular MD or your primary doctor. So uh, they will switch the medications, direct you then or direct the nurse to direct you on things to change when they need to change them. I think I've only had a handful of patients, and maybe not even that many, that I actually literally saw the doctor, and that was because they, would come out once a month, but not too many. Um, so there's that. Uh, so like I said, if you're wondering why, oh, they've seen this doctor for 20 years and now they're not ever seeing them again. Their medication is stopped, and that they have this brand new doctor that doesn't know them. Don't worry, because that's their job. So transitioning, there's a few different things that happen. Once you get the diagnosis, you go home and your client or patient seems to be doing okay, moving around, still eating, still going to the bathroom by themselves. Um, taking their medication, okay, they can swallow, they can chew, they can talk to you. Um, those are the moments that anything that needs to happen, uh, like their wishes, make sure you fully discuss that stuff. I mean, I know it might be a hard conversation to bring up, but the fact is, when you're put on hospice, you know what's going to happen. And, some people might not know, and they might need it explained to them. Because when you have the diagnosis of hospice, it's like, oh, well, you're going to die. but that's what's going to happen. So make sure you have all those talks, those hard talks. Make sure you have the wishes down. Make sure you have the funeral stuff all taken care of, exactly what they want. And like I talked about when you're preparing, make a list of people they want to see, people they don't want to see. If they want to write letters, send videos, video chat, anything that needs wrapped up, do in that time. Uh, so then the next phase would be bedbound. Okay, you start to notice that they're having a harder time getting up. They're having a harder time swallowing, chewing their food. You notice that the amount of food that you gave them before, they're not eating as much. um, then you kind of, that's when you kind of want to have like pudding, yogurt, things on hand that are going to be easier, they don't have to chew. Because as the energy decreases, chewing will take so much energy out of them. I mean, something that we don't even think about taking energy away from us, something like chewing and masticating their food takes a lot of energy out of them. So this is the phase where you would see the food decline, the physical activity decline, um, the communication decline, sleeping a lot more. And don't be worried about that, because this is all part of the body breaking down, the body shutting down, uh, and things of that nature. So the next phase that you would see again would be incontinence. You might have to do full change, number one and number two. Uh, and we'll do a video, like I said, on supplies. I know, I haven't gotten there yet. And the things that you're going to need. So when it comes to changing. But as far as this phase, irritation, they'll get irritated a lot easier. A lot of people don't want you to fuss over them, but when they lose control of their bowels, or their ability to urinate, you kind of have to get real up close and personal. And I mean real up close and personal. Okay. I mean, when your babies were little, you would hold them up and smell them, or see if you could smell them. You got to do that again. Just bring back all those times where you had to do that. So, so those things are going to come into play. You're going to have to watch for bed sores, which is skin breakdown. So the longer they're lying in bed, on their back side, the part of their bottom, right above the crack of their butt, that little part there, is a big place where the bed sores can start, or the skin breakdown. Hopefully you can catch them before it becomes a sore, because they are painful. And I have seen some that are horrific. You don't want that. This is why you look for these things and use your senses. Okay, back to that video. Your sense of smell, touch, and feel. If their bed is wet, you smell some pee or poop, make sure you keep them changed, clean, dry, because body breakdown, sweat, produces moisture, produces the skin breakdown. So, and that's not where you want them to be. I mean, and I hate to say it, you might be changing them or their bed 5, 6, 7 times a day, throughout the night as well. Because if they, their nerve endings start to die, and they don't know, or they're, wherever their ailment is, and, they become incontinent, they just can't feel what's going on. And they might be able to feel the sensation of being wet, or they're going, but they can't do anything about it. They can't move. So that's the next stage or phase. Um, and then the one after that is going to be the sleep stage, which I call the final sleep stage. Now, this sleep stage is before the death. Now, this is when they cannot verbally communicate or physically communicate, like with their hands, um, when they're just sleeping. Positioning and repositioning is extremely important in this phase. If you move them and they, don't worry, because, you know, if they're hurt, if you hurt them, well, not physically, or, well, not intentionally, but if you, when you're moving them to reposition them, they might yell out or, just, reassure them very calmly that you love them. The touch, again, touch, touch. Um, I'm sorry, it will only last for a second. I'm so sorry, but I have to move you. Um, Make sure you're communicating with them all the time and what you're doing and how you're doing it. Um, so they know, if they can't, if their eyes aren't open, so they can at least hear what's going to happen, what's going on, what you're doing there with them. Um, so, or, talk about a memory or something while you're doing this hard stuff. So it kind of takes their mind somewhere else. Um, at this point, you're probably going to be administering medication more often, um, a larger dose, and more frequently to keep them comfortable. Remember that lorazepam will calm them down, and the morphine will also help them to breathe. So it'll help them with their pain, agitation, and it opens up their airways as well. Um, and those are two of the biggest. The combo would be the lorazepam and the morphine. So um, some of the things on body breakdown when they're in their sleeping stage, like I said, repositioning. Make sure none of their bones are touching. So that would be like a pillow between their knees, or like between their thighs. So there's enough room and space so that their kneecaps or knee bones aren't touching. Ankles, because all that stuff, if those are touching, skin breakdown, any type of pressure point on the body, especially the back, even the elbows, this part of the arm. I always, and we will do, I got a tripod, so I'm gonna do videos of how to reposition and the position of the pillows and where they should be at when you're at this stage, the final sleep stage. This is extremely important to watch for body breakdown, and that's when I start from the tips of the toes all the way up to the top of the head. And I do this 3 or 4 times a day, checking skin all over, arms, back of arms, um, the shins, the temples, here, here, even ears, to see if there's any discoloration, which would be purple or gray, and sometimes even black. Um, because what happens in that final sleep stage is the heart's working overtime, okay? The heart is pumping and it's beating and it's taking all of that warmth to the core of the body to hold it in, and it's taking all of everything away from the extremities, toes, feet, legs. It's bringing it all to the core, okay? And that's what we call modeling, is when the skin turns a little bit grayish, and you can kind of do this with it and it'll stay there, like, okay, like it'll stick up where we don't, ours isn't going to stick up, but theirs would actually, you do something like this and it would just stay like that. But also the color, you will be able to tell a difference in the color of their skin. So then even the sheet, okay, I tell everybody, At this stage, they're probably just in an undergarment, or and it's a diaper. It looks like a long diaper, not the pull-ups. At this point, you are going to have, because of the rolling and moving, you'll have to have a big diaper with the little tabs. Um, so, and then you'll have a t-shirt or a long sleeve shirt, cut up the back, like we talked about. You cut it all the way up the back, leave the collar, and it just goes over their head. Make sure there's no wrinkles in the back. You never want any wrinkles or creases, because when they're laying on their back, that's going to cause skin breakdown. Anywhere that's touching, that's going to get hot. You also have to make sure their bed sheets and anything under them is not wrinkled. I mean, this has to be smooth. Um, so yeah, so that's pretty much what they'll be wearing. Um, and it's not, because you don't want to, or they don't have any other clothes. This is going to be for ease of repositioning and changing them, keeping them clean. So I always have the pillows underneath, if they're on their back, underneath the knees, underneath the ankles. You always want the feet to not touch the bed, the bottom of the heel, because if it does, body breakdown, skin breakdown, you can get sores there. The sheet, this is something that I learned years ago that floored me. Didn't think that, never would think this. A single white cotton sheet laying on the tips of the toes can cause skin breakdown and become very painful. Something that light. So that kind of gives you a little idea of just how sensitive the skin is and at this point. So the body is breaking down, like I said, when they're not eating or drinking for a couple days, and they're sleeping most of the time, pretty much all the time at this point. You don't force them. Don't try to wake them up. Don't try to force them to eat. Don't try to force them to drink, because they will choke, and that will be real bad and extremely uncomfortable. No one wants that. When we do supplies, I'll show you we call them lollipops. They're about this tall. You can get them at CVS, Walgreens. You can order them from your hospice, anything like that. And they're a little sponge on the top, and it's got a stick. And you can put water, or but at this point, anytime you mix anything, make sure it's watered down, like juice. Even if it's a teeny little bit, you water it down, because it's going to be too strong for them, the taste. But you always want to swab the mouth out. If there's any foam coming out, make sure you get their mouth very clean, because as they're sleeping, they're sometimes going to, it'll get really dry. They have stuff for dry mouth to put. You can dip that in there and give them a nice swab. Sometimes you want to do it rather quickly so they don't bite down, and then it gets stuck, and then that's not pleasant. But so if they are, like this, I would just go inside their cheeks and up and around. But you want to keep their mouth moist. Lip balm, keep lip balm on them, because they're going to dry out. Lotions, I wouldn't use anything real fragrant or anything with a lot of alcohol. I would use something that is like a body butter. I generally use it's the Vaseline body butter, like a cocoa butter, something that's going to keep them extremely moisturized. But don't overdo it, because rubbing and touching continuously will agitate them, and can cause bruising. So I know you wouldn't think things like this, but the skin is extremely sensitive. So The other thing to watch for is any kind of flaking of the skin, any kind of the hair. Like I said, just keep it moisturized. Keep their nails clean. Keep their hands clean. Feet, you'll see when it comes time when they're actively dying. Okay, we'll just switch into that real quick because I know I'm over 20 minutes now. Um, Actively dying is the last phase. You'll see hard labor breathing from the tummy. Don't let that scare you, but yes, feel free to call your hospice nurse and tell them. Um, then a fever will happen because again, they're bringing all that stuff, that warmth. And I know this is strange, but these are the things that you look for, that I look for, that can tell you that we're getting close. Okay. So you watch for the labor belly breathing, big, fast heart rate, and you can check their oxygen. I do. I do. I saw a comment on one of my things where they're like, don't check their pulse, don't check their oxygen. Well, sometimes you can get a reading, and sometimes you can't, but it's up to you. What I check it, and if I can get a reading, great, then I write it down. That's the other thing is I document everything. Make sure you document everything. Um, so labored belly breathing, a fever. In your hospice kit, comfort care kit, there will be a Tylenol suppository. When they get that fever, that last fever, if you don't know how to give a suppository, please call your hospice nurse, tell them, monitor the fever, write your information down, and tell them they have a fever and that they need to come out and do the suppository, and they will. So that's another thing to look for when you're getting close. Then the breathing will slow down. Okay. And I'm talking like 1, 2, 3 breaths a minute. And you're like, ah, ah, ah. Don't worry. Perfectly normal. Now, I don't know if everybody does this, but I've been doing this for 15 years and I've been with about 30 deaths. When this time comes, I put them on their left side. I don't have a rhyme or reason to it, but every single time it works. And I believe that they can breathe better and pass easier. So I always put them on their left side, make sure there's something, under their cheek, under their arm, in between their knees, in between their ankles, and cover them up. So right after that, you'll notice that their heart rate will speed up and then it'll slow way down. Slow, slow, breathing slows. They'll start to change color. And this is when you just tell them to go. Tell them it's okay to go. Tell them to go with the angels. The angels there to get them. Tell them to go to paradise. Tell them you love them and that it's okay and you're going to be okay. That if they go, it's okay because you're going to be okay once they go, and that you love them. Just keep reassuring. Aunt Vivi that's here, she's 95. She always sings old hymns and like not in the room, but like in the background, and you can always hear it and it's precious. And I usually have some, Christian music or gospel music or something just very light, very low, but something very light playing in the background. Or if they, liked orchestra, whatever kind of music they liked, whatever genre that they liked, I have it playing very low in the background, surrounded by the people that, are with them. Once the fever hits and the labored breathing or agonal breathing, and and you have to call your hospice nurse, she or he will say, we're getting close, and they will be ready for the call. Once they are put on actively dying. So if there's anything else that I missed, please, please, please feel free to email me at humantoheaven@gmail.com, and I will respond personally. I do private consultations. Um, I do all kinds of stuff. So please use me. I want to help you. I want you to know you're not alone and that I love you so much and I'm praying for you. And I have all the faith in the world in you that you can do this. And God doesn't give us things that we can't handle. You might think that you can't handle it and you're going to get frustrated and you're going to go through it like we talked about in storms. But you can do this. And so, like I said, transitioning and body breakdown, I hope this helped you, even if it helped you a little bit. But if you have any other questions, please, please, please email me or put a comment down there. Please like and subscribe to my page or my channel. And I will see you soon. Take care of yourself as well. Kiss that loved one for me and get some rest. And I'll see you soon.